Hello and good day, students. This is GSP 1201/2201 use of English lecture slides for Group B1. That's students from agricultural engineering, chemical engineering, civil engineering, petroleum engineering, and automotive engineering. My name is Adamu Idris. This is Module 5 titled Spoken English. Here on these slides, we have introduction to spoken English. The topics to be examined include the speech organs, the vowel and consonant sounds, the place and manner of articulations, minimal pairs, syllable structure and consonant clusters, and finally strains and intonation. As you can see on these slides, we have a diagram of what we call speech organs or vocal tracts. Speech organs are what we call vocal tract. The diagram contains the parts from the neck to the face, which help in sound production. What I'm trying to say is that all the sounds, or rather all the speech organs you see on the diagram, they help in the production of what is called sound. They help because you have to make use of them in course of producing all the sounds being produced in any language. And as you can see on the slides, we have places like nostril, alveolar ridge, nasal cavity, hard palate, velum, which is called soft palate. We have uvula, we have epiglottis, we have larynx, we have vocal folds or vocal cords, we have teeth, we have tongue, which we have is tip of the tongue, front of the tongue, we have back of the tongue, we have root, we also have pharynx, we have oral cavity, and we have finally lips. All these have in production of sounds, because in the course of producing any sounds, one must use different speech organs, starting from vocal cords up to alveolar ridge. As you can see, these slides explain further what we have taken in the previous slides, because it contains parts of the speech organs which include lips. And lips, as we have taken in the previous part, is also divided into two. We have upper teeth, upper lips, and lower lips. We have teeth. They are also speech organs. They help in the production of sounds. We also have tongue, which is also divided into front of the tongue, back of the tongue, and blade. And we have also uvula, as we can see on the slides. We have glottis, we have alveolar ridge, we have hard palate, and velum, which is also called soft palate. Each of these parts articulate or come into contact with another to produce a distinct sound. That is to say, all these speech organs came into contact, not all at least, or some of these organs come into contact when in the production or in the course of producing any sound. Therefore, for you or for someone to produce a sound, he or she must use more than one of these organs. That is, for instance, to provide or rather to combine lips with teeth or tongue or glottis or alveolar ridge to produce a single sound. And each of these sounds is either a consonant sound or a vowel sound. Maybe in the course of taking the previous lectures, maybe, or in the course of, well, you may know that sounds in English or in any other language is divided into consonant sound or vowel sound. And now these slides contain a description or explanation on the two concepts we have mentioned in the earlier or previous slides, that is consonant and vowel sounds. The International Phonetic Alphabet is the alphabet system which contains all phonetic symbols of all languages. What I'm trying to say is that all languages, in all the languages, there must be consonant sounds and there must be vowel sounds. And we have this International Phonetic Alphabet system which contains all world languages, consonant and vowel sound. That is, whichever language you are speaking and whatever language, so long as it's been documented, there must be consonants and there must be vowel for each of these languages. And there's this international phonetic symbols, or other system that contains all the phonetic symbols, that is all world languages, consonant and vowel sounds. Therefore, the sound system includes consonants and vowel sounds. Therefore, for every language in the world, there must be consonants and there must be vowel sounds. And now the English consonant sounds, that is consonant sounds belonging to the English language. English has 24 consonant sounds which are distinct from the 21 letters of the English alphabets. Yes, in English there are 24 consonant sounds, and these sounds are different from letters. These are letters. We use letters to write, and these sounds are distinct from these letters we see on the slides. We can see that in the table below, which presents the 24 consonant sounds and their manner of articulation, that is how sounds are being pronounced. There are three yardsticks of differentiating between consonant sounds themselves. The first one is called manner of articulation, that is how sounds are being produced, how you make use of the speech organs to produce the sounds. Speech organs we have taken in the previous slides. And number two is their place of articulation, that is the parts that come together to produce the sounds, and which of the parts, using which kind of speech organs, how are they being produced. We have taken that in the manner of articulation, and their place of articulation deals with how many parts that came into contact in the course of what producing the sounds. And lastly, we have their voice, that is feature stating voiced or voiceless. We can see that in some examples come. That is how the state of the glottis, that is a vocal tract or vocal cords. We can see that in the slides coming up. Yes, as we can see on these slides, we have a diagram or a table containing the 24 English consonant sounds. The 24 English consonant sounds. And we have in the table profile the 3 yardstick of determining a particular consonant sounds. We can see where that we have taken in the previous slides that we have 3 yardstick of determining a particular consonant sounds. The first one on the table, as we can see, is called mode of production, that is manner of articulation. Under manner of articulation, we have plosives, that is consonant sounds can be plosive or stops, can also be fricatives, can also be affricates, nasals or laterals. And in the second column, we have voice and voiceless, or voiceless and voiced, that is state of the glottis, whether the vocal cords are compressed in the course of producing a particular sound or not. When they are compressed, we have produced a voiced sound. When they are not, that is they are fat, we produce what is called a voiceless sound. And the last thing we have, or the second to the last, we have a place of articulation. That is what and what organs of speech come into contact in the course of producing a particular sound, which is called place of articulation. And lastly, on the columns, we have what is examples, that is letters or words that realize the sounds we have taken. Yes, take a look at the sounds in the voiceless and voice feature. We have P, we have B. They are all plosives because in the course of producing, we have a complete release of air. P, B. And while P is voiceless, B is voiced. And it's called bilabial because we have the upper teeth, or rather the upper lip and the lower lip coming into contact in the course of producing these two sounds, as we can see in the words pin, bin, which realizes the two sounds. They realize the two sounds. Pin for P, that is plosive, voiceless, bilabial, and bin for B, that is voiced, plosive, bilabial. And we have T, also plosives because in the course of releasing the air, we have complete release of air, and they are alveolar because the tip of the tongue touches the alveolar ridge in the course of production. And we can realize that in T, din, and we have K, G. They are also plosives because we have complete release of air, and they are velar because tip of the tongue touches the velar, and they are realized in the words calf, gap, and while K is voiceless, G is voiced. That is, instead of the glottis, the vocal cords are compressed in their product, or rather in its production. And we have precatives, F and V. They are called precatives because we have the contact of what? Lower lip and upper teeth. Lower lip and upper teeth. And they are labiodental. Van, van, as you can see. So we can use these three modes, or rather three yardstick of determining consonant sounds to differentiate between the consonant sounds. And we have seen that they are voiceless and they are voiced. And the place of articulation range from bilabial, alveolar, velar, labiodental, interdental, alveolar, alveopalatal, palatal, glottal, as the case may be. So we can use this three yardstick to differentiate between the 24 English consonant sounds we have taken. And there are 24. Yes, what we have on these slides is manner of articulation. That is one of the yardsticks of determining or differentiating between the English consonant sounds we have. Manner of articulation. It starts from stops of plosives. Recall that we have stops of plosives in the previous slides. The manner of articulation of stops of plosive sounds is produced by complete stopping of the airstream and sudden release of the trapped air. That is to say, when air is flowed from lungs, that is from two lungs, that air is being stopped completely at the vocal tract, and there is a sudden release of this air. That is why it's called plosives or stops. And the sounds produced are P, B, T, D, K, G, according to being voiced or voiceless. And the second one is called fricatives. The manner of articulation of fricative sounds is produced by almost blocking the airstream and pushing the air through narrow opening. By pushing the air through a type of friction, sound is produced, and the produced sounds are called fricatives. What we are trying to say is that when there is a flow from lungs of air from lungs, there is almost a blocking of such air and pushing through a narrow opening. That is unlike stops, where you have the stopping of the air and the complete or sudden release of the air. Under fricatives, we have the close, or the complete stops of the air and the sudden release. No, a pushing release through a narrow opening. By pushing such air, we have, or rather, we produce sounds like f, v, s, z, j, sh, h, y. Therefore, all these are called fricatives. And we have the other one is called affricates. The manner of articulation of affricate sound is produced by a brief stopping introduced by a plosive followed by obstructed air, which results in some friction. And taking a look at what's called affricates, you can notice that it combines the two, that is, stops or plosives and fricatives. You have the complete stop of the air and sudden release of such air, but through what? An obstruction. There is what's called an obstruction of air through what? When there is, or rather through a narrow opening, you have the a release, but with friction. Sounds produced in this include ch, j, and we have nasals. The manner of articulation nasal sound is produced by lowering the velum. recall, we have in the speech organs velum, and following the air stream to flow out through the nose to produce a nasal sounds. You have what? Uh, the air being stopped and being lowered at the velum. Then you have the flow out through the nose to produce the sounds. Sounds produced are called nasals, and they are mm, mm, and lastly, we have laterals. The manner of articulation, the lateral sound is produced when the air stream proceeds along the sides of the tongue, but the air is blocked by the tongue, preventing it from going through the middle of the mouth. So you have the complete stop of the air, and the tongue blocks the air and prevent it from going through the middle of the mouth. Therefore, it goes sideways. We have sounds like w, l, r. So these are called manner of articulation. As you can see on these slides, we have plays of articulation. Remember, in the previous slides, we have taken manner of articulation, which is also one of the criteria of determining or distinguishing between sounds we have in English. Place of articulation simply refers to coming together of certain speech organs, which we have seen in the previous diagrams, where sounds are being produced. Number one, we have bilabials. Bilabials are produced by the coming together of upper and lower lips. Remember, we have lips as one of the speech organs. So we have upper lip and the lower lip. When the two come together, they produce sounds like m, p, and w. All these are bilabials. As we can see on the slides, we have examples like man, p, and we. Then we have labiodentals. Labiodentals are produced through the articulation of upper teeth and lower lip. Yes, certain sounds are being produced using upper teeth and lower lip. Sounds like f and v, as in friend, as in vision. Friend, vision. The first alphabets of these letters, or rather of these words, are labiodentals. Then we have interdental. This is sometimes applied to describe a manner of pronunciation with a tongue tip between upper and lower teeth. And we have sounds like s, and z, as in thin, thin, and then, as in then, as in then. Then we have number 4 as alveolar. Alveolar sound is produced with the articulation of the front part of the tongue placed on the alveolar ridge. Remember, alveolar ridge is one of the speech organs we have. It's situated on top of the oral cavity. So when you have tip of the tongue, that is the blade of the tongue, being placed on the alveolar ridge, you produce sounds like t, d, s, z, l, n, r. All these are called alveolars, like teacher, the first alphabet, dislike, the first alphabet, science, the first alphabet, zoo, the first alphabet, lion, the first alphabet, new, the first alphabet, because the word new contains another one silent alphabet. Then you have rip, the first alphabet. Then we have alveopalatals. Alveopalatals, they are produced by placing the tongue at the very point of the palate, which is near alveolar ridge. And we produce sounds like sh as in shoe, j as in measure, ch as in chew, j as in Jew. Then we have velar. The production of velar sound is done by placing the back of the tongue against the velum. Remember, we have velum, we have back of the tongue as one of the speech organs. We produce sounds like k, g, ng, k, as in cattle, g, as in gutter. Then ng as in teaching, chin. Then we have lastly glottal. Glottal, this sound is produced without the action of the tongue and other parts of the mouth. This sound is produced in the glottis. Remember? Take a look at the diagram in the preceding slides. You can see we have the glottis as one of the speech organs. So there's space between the vocal cords and the larynx called glottis. So the air is coming through there, producing sounds like as in hour, the first alphabet, although it's silent. Now what we have on these slides are called vowel sounds. Remember, we've said that sounds in English and any other language are divided into consonants and vowels. We have taken consonants in the previous slides, and we have taken the 3 yardsticks of distinguishing between consonant sounds, which we say are manner of articulation, the place of articulation, and state of the glottis, whether the sounds are or the consonant sounds are voice or voiceless. Here on these slides we have vowel sounds, which is one of the features, also one of the sounds we have in English. The vowel sounds differ from consonant sounds in terms of the air flow obstruction. Remember, we've taken that the main difference between consonants and vowel sounds is air obstruction. For you to produce any sound, you should get an air from your lungs to glottis, then to other speech organs before you pronounce the sounds. The consonant sounds, in the course of producing consonant sounds, there is what is called obstruction of air at the different places. It depends whether the sounds are bilabial or consonant sounds are bilabials, where you have complete blockage, alveolar, where you have partial blockage, velar, where you have a partial blockage also. In the course of producing vowel sounds, there's no obstruction of any way. In the production of consonant sounds, air is partially or totally obstructed before the release. We have taken that maybe in the course of producing plosives and velar, whereas in the production of vowel sounds there is no obstruction of air. Remember, this is the main difference between vowels and consonants. You have air obstruction in the course of pronouncing consonant sounds, and there is no obstruction of air in the course of producing or pronouncing vowel sounds. The vowel sounds are divided into monophthongs, also called pure vowels, and diphthongs. Monophthongs are further divided into short vowel sounds and long vowel sounds. In English, we have two main divisions of vowel sounds, that is monophthongs and diphthongs. For monophthongs, they are what single vowel sounds we have, and they can be short or they can be long vowels. And we have diphthongs, where you combine two sounds to serve as one. You can see that in the preceding slides, or rather in the coming slides. And now on these slides we have example of English monophthongs or pure vowels. In English phonology we have 7 short vowels, and these are the examples. Number 1, we have E as in pit, pick, difficult, pit, pick, difficult. Number 2, we have E as in pet, scent, attention, pet, scent, attention. And we have number 3, as in pat, plat, family, pat, flat, family. And we have number 4, as in cut, jump, cover, as in cut, jump, cover. Then we have oo, as in put, book, cushion, put, book, cushion. Then we have number 6, o, as in pot, dog, hospital. Pot, dog, hospital. And lastly, we have as in about, system, complete, about, system, complete. And on these slides, we have 5 long vowel sounds and their IPA examples in words. There are 5. Remember, monophthongs are 12. We have 7 short vowels and 5 long vowels. Number 1 is E. We say that they are long. E as in wake, feed, media, wake, feed, media. Then as in hard, park, article, hard, park, article. Then O as in fork, walk, August, fork, walk, August. Then number 4 we have R as in hard, word, surface, hard, word, surface. Then lastly we have O as in boot, group, beautiful, boot, group, beautiful. And now the English diphthongs or glides. They are called diphthongs or glides. English diphthongs vowels have 2 symbols because they are made up of 2 vowel sounds. Remember, in our previous discussion, we said that English vowels are divided into monophthongs and diphthongs. Monophthongs are made up of only 1 sound, and they can be long and they can be short, while diphthongs is a combination of 2 vowel sounds pronounced as one. And there is a glide between the first, or rather from the first one to the second one. Therefore, they have 2 vowel symbols. In other words, diphthongs vowels are 2 short vowels joined together. They are also called double vowels. And they are also called double vowels because, as I said, we have them as short and they are combined together to give 1 vowel sounds. And they are reliable in certain words like fine. And we'll see that in the previous, or rather in the coming slides. They are also called glides because in the production of diphthongs, there is a glide from the first sound to the second. We have taken that right. They are also called glide because in the course of pronunciation or producing certain these diphthongs, there is a glide from the first vowel sound to the second vowel sound. You start from the first one, then you move slowly into the second one. And there seems to be problem, especially with those learning English as either foreign language or second language, because they mostly pronounce diphthongs or English diphthongs vowels as single vowels, that is as monophthongs. We'll see example of diphthongs in the coming slides. And here on these slides we have 8 English diphthongs and their example in words. The first one is I. And you see a glide starting from A to E. I would say that they are mostly short. I as in fine, bite, tiger, fine, bite, tiger. Second one is A, starting from A, then last who glide into E, as in flays, late, dangerous, flays, late, dangerous. Then we have oi as number 3. Oi as in boy, toy, enjoyable, boy, toy, enjoyable. Then we have ear, ear, starting from A, then lasting or rather gliding to R, as in care, where, declare, care, where, declare. Then we have ear, ear, as in clear, fear, career, clear, fear, career. Then we have ua, ua, as in tour, pure, mature, tour, pure, mature. Then we have second to the last, ow, ow, as in mouse, brown, accountable, accountable, mouse, brown, accountable. Then we have ew, ew, as in home, pond, global, home, pond, global. What we have on this slides is called minimal pairs. This is a new topic. Minimal pairs. In phonology, minimal pairs are pairs of words in a particular language which differ in only one phonological element and have distinct meanings. That is to say, in phonology, there's maybe a situation whereby you have two or more words pronounced in almost the same way, but they have distinct phonological element and they have distinct meanings. They are called minimal pairs because they are pronounced as in the same way, in almost similar way, but they have different or distinct meanings. That is, when two or more words sound similar except in one sound, these are called minimal pairs. That is to say that in English phonology or any other phonology, you may have some words being pronounced in almost the same way, but they differ in one phonological element. In such case, they may have different meanings and they are called minimal pairs. Minimal pairs are used to demonstrate that two sounds are two separate phonemes in English. Yes, we can see examples in the coming slides of what is called minimal pairs. Yes, on these slides we have examples of minimal pairs. Examples of minimal pairs. To see that clearly, we have designed a table that has 5 columns. Number 1 is word 1, number 2 is word 2, then we have transcriptions from column 3 and 4, then we have word 1 and word 2 difference. That is the area of contrast. Area of contrast. Then let's go through the examples. Then take a look at the column 1. We have pin, the first word. Then the second word, bin. See their transcription. Pin, bin. The initial difference, or rather the only difference, is what? Initial consonant sound. This is also obtainable in the second word or second example where we have rot, lot, rot, lot. It's also the initial consonant sound where the contrast is existing. Then thigh, thy, thigh, thy. Also the initial consonant sounds. Then seal, zeal, seal, zeal. These are almost pronounced in the same way, but the only difference is what? The initial consonant. Then take a look at the first, the other word, bin, bean, bin, bean. The only contrast is what? The vowel, the middle vowel sound. The first one is short, while the second one is long. Bin, bean. Then you have pen, pan, pen, pan. The only difference is what? Vowel sound. Then you have cook. Then you have cook, cook. cook, cook, cook. The first one is short vowel, while the second one is long vowel. Then you have hat, 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 hat. The only difference is what? Final consonant sound. Hat, hat. And lastly, you have mean, meme, mean, meme. The only difference is what? Final consonant sound. So all these words are called what? Minimal pairs, because they have contrast in either the initial consonant or initial letters, or the vowel or the final consonant. Therefore, they are. And here on these slides, we have another topic which is called syllable. Remember, we have taken minimal pairs in the previous slides. And here we have the syllable. A syllable is a group of one or more sounds which forms a single unit of speech. Yes, in the English phonology, we have what is called syllable, and it's called a unit where you have one or more sounds being uh, grouped together and to form as one of the single speech units. The essential part of a syllable is a vowel sound. Yes, in understanding or realizing a particular syllable, the most important sound is vowel, which may be preceded and O followed by a consonant. It may be preceded, meaning you may have a consonant opening a syllable, then you have the vowel, or you can have vowel opening the syllable, then you have consonants, followed by a consonant, or a consonant cluster, consonants, or cluster of consonants. That is to have two syllable or rather two consonant sounds before the vowel, and or three consonant sounds after the vowel sound. In English, a syllable usually contains an obligatory vowel sound with or without consonants, thereby forming either a whole word or a part of a word. In English phonology, the most important part of a syllable is called a vowel sound. It's the most important because you can have a syllable of only single vowel sound, and you may have a syllable where you have one consonant or two consonants before the vowel, or one consonant or two consonants or even three consonants after the vowel sound. Therefore, this actually makes the vowel sound as the most important or the nucleus of the syllable. In English syllables, some syllables consist of one vowel, as in I, O. Remember, in our discussion, we said the most important part of a syllable is the vowel sound. So you can have a syllable of only one vowel. Realize in words like I, O, or a syllable can consist of a vowel preceded by one consonant, as in pie, or by two consonants, as in try, or by three consonants, as in spray. We also say that you can have a consonant, or rather a syllable, wherever you have the most important part, that is vowel, being preceded by one, two, or three consonant sounds, as we can see on the slides. As we have said before, vowel is the most important or nucleus part of a syllable. It's the most important because you can't have a syllable without a vowel sound. In our previous discussion, we have seen and taken an example of where you have the vowel pointing or forming only one syllable, or a vowel with other consonants preceding the vowel sounds as a syllable also. So on these slides, as you can see, we can have consonant, either one consonant, two consonants, three consonants, or four consonant sounds immediately coming after the vowel sound in what is called a consonant cluster. So you can have it as in at, where you have only one consonant preceding or rather coming after the vowel, or by two consonants, as in its, that is having what? Two consonant sounds coming immediately after the vowel sound, or by three consonants, that is C, V, C, 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 as in Texas or text, text, or by four consonants, whereby you have C, then V, then consonant clusters. Texts. Based on this discussion, you can notice that we have types of syllables. The first one is open syllable. A syllable is often when it consists of a vowel only where the vowel is preceded by a consonant. Remember, we've said in our discussion that the most important part of a syllable is the vowel sound. So in an open syllable, you must have what? A vowel sound being preceded by a consonant, either one, two, or three, as we have taken in the first part of these slides. You can have uh, consonant sound, one consonant sound before the vowel, two consonant sound before the vowel, or three consonant sound before the vowel. It's often because you can see the addition of consonant sounds before the terminal part of the syllable, that is vowel. And you can have closed syllable. A syllable is closed when the vowel is closed in by a consonant or consonants, that is consonant cluster, as in VC, where you have consonant clothing the part of the syllable, the nucleus part of the syllable, that is vowel, or CVC, that is having what? The consonant before the vowel, then lastly the consonants, or VCC, two consonant clusters, then CVCC, three consonant clusters, or two clusters, two consonants before and the two consonants after. This is called closed syllable. As you can see on these slides, we have parts of a syllable. Parts of a syllable. A syllable has three parts. We have onset, nucleus, called thick, and lastly coda. Therefore, these are the three parts of a syllable. The onset and coda are consonants that appear at the beginning and at the end of a syllable respectively. Remember, we've taken in the previous slides that you can have what? Consonants before the vowel sound and consonants after the vowel sound. So the consonant coming before the vowel sound is called onset, while the consonants coming after the vowel sound is called coda. Therefore, the initial C is the onset, while the final C is the coda. The nucleus forms the core of the syllable. It is often a vowel. It is called thick. And remember, in our previous discussion, we said that the most important part of a syllable should be the nucleus, or the vowel sound. The vowel sound is called the nucleus, or is also called thick. It is the most important part of a syllable, which you can't have a syllable without a thick or nucleus. In the word cat, for instance, the C, that is K sound, coming before the vowel sound is called the onset, while the A is the nucleus. That is the most important. You can't have this syllable without the A. And lastly, we have T, which is the coda. A syllable does not necessarily have to have onset and the coda, depending on the language. Yes, the two elements, that is onset and coda, are optionals. Then it depends on the language. You can have what? Onset and coda, and you can't have onset and the coda. The most important part of a syllable is always the nucleus or the thick, that is the vowel sound. Example, up has a nucleus and a coda, and you can have in a certain situation the nucleus and the coda, or the coda and the nucleus, or the onset and the nucleus. For instance, up, the syllable has what? The nucleus and the coda. Whereas car have what? Onset and the nucleus. Syllables, or other words, can be monosyllabic and can be polysyllabic, meaning they can have only one syllable or they can have more than one syllable. Monosyllabic words are words like car, sip, book. They all have what? One syllable. One syllable. And it can be what? Onset, nucleus, or onset, nucleus, coda, depending on what? The language, the word itself. Then you can have polysyllabic words, whereby you have a word having more than one syllable in it. Example, bottle. How many syllables? There are two. Falcon. Syllable itself. Nationalize itself. So these words have more than one syllable. And here on these slides we have consonant cluster. Consonant cluster. That is, consonant cluster is a group of consonants in a syllable with no vowels between them. In the course of our explanation of the concept of syllable, remember we have taken what? We have discovered that you can have consonants preceding a vowel sound or consonants coming after a vowel sound. And you may have what? Uninterrupted arrangement of consonant sounds before the vowel sound in a syllable, or uninterrupted arrangement of consonant sounds immediately after the vowel sound. Examples can be C, C, V, that is having two consonants before the vowel, C, C, then vowel, or you have three consonants before the vowel, C, 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 V, or you can have what? Vowel opening the syllable, then you have three consonants after the vowel, C, 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 or you can have four consonant sounds coming after the vowel sound, that is V, C, 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 as we have taken in the previous slides. Consonant cluster, that is arrangement of consonants uninterruptedly without having vowels interrupting them, can be at the nucleus, that is coming between or before the nucleus, as in bring, b, and r, coming between what? Coming before e, as in try, two consonants before the I, as in skip, as in spot, as in throw. And you can have consonant cluster at the coda, that is at the final position of the particular syllable, as in twins, where you have N and S, or graphs, where you have S and P, or rest, where you have S and T, as in talked. Talked. This is not a good example, I think. Then reached. Reached. Oh, talked, then you have L and K, then reached, C and H. The longest possible cluster or consonant cluster in English is 5 consonant sounds at the start, such as psychology, psychoanalysis. And there are certain words with 3 consonants, like as in splash, scratch, either as the nucleus or the coda, stream. And we have 4 at the end, as in 12, then bicycles, that's as the middle. What we have on these slides is strains and intonation. This is a new topic. In the first place, we are going to take strains, then later we are taking intonation. In phonology, stress is the relative emphasis or prominence given to a certain syllable in a word or to a certain word in a phrase. That is to say, that is a prominence or an emphasis given to a certain syllable in a polysyllabic word, or given to a word in a phrase or a sentence. We have taken phrase and sentence in Module 2. You have seen what a phrase is and what a sentence is. That emphasis is typically caused by features such as increased loudness, vowel length, vowel quality, and changes in tone. We can only get to know about strains through what? Increased loudness, vowel length, vowel quality, and changes in tone. These are the features that determine that this is a stress, and this stress is placed on this syllable or on these words in this sentence. Stress is placed in a word or on a word, on part of a word with more than one syllable. That is to say that you are only placing a syllable, or rather a stress on a syllable in a polysyllabic word. For instance, you have a word of 8 syllables. So you are instructed to place a stress on only one syllable. That is to give prominence or emphasis on one syllable in all the 8 syllables, to increase the loudness, the vowel length, or the vowel quality, or changes in tone. All the other 7 syllables are what? Not stressed. Wrong stress placement in a word results from pronunciation or meaning. Yes, whenever you are placing uh, a stress on a word or rather wrong syllable, you risk what? Pronunciation, and what you risk meaning changes. So example of the stress can be what? Tiger, placing what? A marker on top of the syllable, before the syllable. Tiger, here you are placing the emphasis or the bold quality on the first syllable, tie. Then dangerous, placing on the first syllable. Enjoyable, placing on the second syllable. Declare, declare, placing on the second syllable. Career, on the second syllable. Mature, on the second syllable. Accountant, on accountant, on the second syllable. Global, global, on the first syllable. So for you to understand that this stress is, or rather this syllable is being stressed, there is a marker on top before the syllable. On top before the syllable, as we can see on these slides. Here on these slides, we have two main types of stress. This is to say that stress are divided into two types. We have the primary stress, also called strong stress, and the secondary stress, which is also called weak stress. Primary stress or strong stress appears at the beginning or close to the beginning of a word. Every monosyllabic word has a primary stress. What we are trying to say that you can only have a primary stress when you have the stress marker being placed at the beginning or near beginning of that syllable. And most of the monosyllabic words have what? Primary stress. Examples: go, sit, write, river, talking, meaning. Can you see that? The first three, or the first three are uh, monosyllabic words, while the last three are polysyllabic or two-syllable words. They all have what is called primary stress because the monosyllabic already have primary stress, while the polysyllabic have the stress placed from the beginning of that syllable, or from the beginning of that words. And now secondary stress, which is also called weak stress, is found at the near the end of the word. For instance, education. Can you see? Necessary, diabolical. All these are weak stress because they are placed at the near end of the words. So these are the two types of stress called primary strong stress or secondary weak stress. What we have on this slide is intonation. Intonation and stress are closely linked because they go hand in hand. Yes, the intonation and stress we have taken in the previous slides are closely related and they go hand in hand. Intonation is about how we say things rather than what we say, the way voice rises and falls when speaking. What actually this is telling you is that the intonation and stress are linked, and while stress is mostly on syllables in words, intonation is more of what? Strays or rises and falls of uh, voice on words in a sentence. Therefore, it's a typical feature of sentence, having a raise and fall of voice. That's why it's saying it's about how we say things, how we arrange words, and how we utter them in the course. Because in the course of we will be expressing our emotions. Just as words have straight syllables, sentences have regular patterns of straight words. This is typically saying that straight is one of the features of words or syllables in words. while intonation is what of the regular features of words, or other, yes, words in a sentence. In addition, the voice tends to raise, fall, or remain flat depending on the meaning or feeling we want to convey. Yes, as I said, we use intonation to express our emotion. That's why intonation is about how we say things, to either convey our surprise, our anger, our interest, our boredom, or gratitude. Yes, you can use the same wordings in a sentence to express either anger, surprise, interest, boredom, or gratitude. Yes, this can be done through placing or raising tone, or lowering tone, or remaining the tone to be flat, depending on what you want to say. This is actually called intonation. Intonation therefore indicates the mood of the speaker. What we are trying to say is that intonation indicates typically the emotion of a particular speaker, which can be surprise, which can be anger, which can be happy. And there are three basic patterns of intonation in English. We have falling intonation, we have rising intonation, and we have falling and rising intonation. In the following examples, a downward arrow indicates a fall in intonation, and an upward arrow indicates a raise in intonation. There are two arrows, as we can see on the slides, that indicate rising intonation, falling intonation, or falling and rising intonation. The first one is falling intonation, where you have a falling arrow. Falling intonation is the most common intonation pattern in English. It is commonly found in statements, commands, WH questions, confirmatory question tags, and exclamations. Yes, whenever we are making statements like my name is Adamu, we use falling intonation. My name is Adamu. Can you see? The tone is falling. Come here. Come here. Commands like it's also the intonation is also falling. What is your name? What is your name? Falling intonation. Confirmatory question tags. You are happy. Aren't you? Aren't you? See, the intonation is falling. Then exclamation. What a good work. What a good work. Here also the intonation is what? Falling. For the arrow is coming back, is falling, or rather is showing downward. Then we have rising intonation. Rising intonation invites the speaker to continue talking. It's normally used with yes or no questions and question tags that are real questions. For instance, will you come tomorrow? The tone is rising. Will you come tomorrow? Will you come tomorrow? Aren't you happy? Aren't you happy? The tone is still what? Rising. Then finally we have falling, rising intonation. Therefore, arrow pointing downward, then upward. Is used in counting or when mentioning items. Yes, when we are counting numbers or mentioning items on a list, we use falling and rising intonation. For instance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the first, that's number 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 4. The tone is falling. Rather, in the last digit or in the last number, the fall, or rather the tone rises. Or when mentioning items on a list, I like beans, yams, and tomatoes. I like beans, yams, and tomatoes. Then the last one, the fall or the tone is rising. This is the end of Module 5. I hope you enjoyed the topic. Now we are going to the Module 7, which is the last in the course. My name is Adam Idris, and see you